Hello and welcome. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran and you're watching Newsnight, your prime-time destination for news and bespoke analysis. It's good to have you again with us. On the show tonight, an in-depth review of India-EU relations. We go behind the news to get you the details of and outcomes from the 15th India-EU summit. Also on the show, looking ahead and looking back at 5 years of Skill India mission. 15th July marks the 5th anniversary of Prime Minister Modi's government's ambitious program of skilling India's youth. Plus, an update on developments in Rajasthan and the latest on the investigation into the Kerala gold smuggling case. All that and much, much more coming up over the next 60 minutes. But first, as always, the headlines. India and the European Union agreed to create a high-level ministerial dialogue to give a push to the stalled negotiations on a bilateral trade and investment agreement. Also agreed to enhance naval cooperation in the Indian Ocean region. Pakistan-sponsored terror and India-China face-off in Ladakh figure in the talks. Prime Minister Modi says the mantra for staying relevant in a post-COVID world is skill, reskill and upskill. He tells people on the 5th anniversary of Skill India mission that more than 50 million Indians have been skilled so far. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to visit forward areas in Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh on the 17th and 18th of July. Army Chief to brief the Minister on defence preparedness. Political crisis continues to brew in Rajasthan. The Congress party issues a notice to Sachin Pilot and 18 other MLAs, threatens disqualification from the Assembly. Pilot says he won't quit the Congress. The flood situation remains grim in Assam and Bihar. 60 dead and 4 million people affected in Assam. The flood waters disrupt life in many districts of Bihar as well. The recovery rate from COVID-19 disease climbs to 63.24% in India. Bihar under complete lockdown till 31st July and a 7-day lockdown in Karnataka's capital of Bengaluru. And US Foreign Minister Mike Pompeo says will impose visa restrictions on employees of Chinese technology companies involved in providing surveillance equipment to repressive regimes. The move comes a day after UK banned Chinese tech giant Huawei for 5G technology. All right, then let's get started. Our cover story is on India-EU relations. Now, the 15th India-EU summit concluded just a few hours ago. Prime Minister Modi co-chaired the summit with EU leaders Charles Michel and Ursula von der Leyen. Now, Prime Minister Modi described India and EU as natural partners. He proposed, 1, taking a long-term view of India-EU strategic partnership, 2, an action-oriented agenda, and 3, a timetable for implementing that agenda. Take a look at our report. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday co-chaired the 15th India-EU summit via a video conference. The summit took place in the backdrop of the COVID-19 pandemic, which was one of the key focus areas for India and the EU. In his address, the Prime Minister said that the India-EU partnership could play an important role during the COVID-19 crisis by working together for a human-centric globalization.
कोविड-19 के बाद आर्थिक क्षेत्र में वैश्विक स्तर पर नई समस्याएं उत्पन्न हो गई। इसके लिए डेमोक्रेटिक राष्ट्रों के बीच अधिक सहयोग की आवश्यकता हम सब महसूस करते हैं। आज हमारे नागरिकों की सेहत और समृद्धि दोनों ही चुनौतियों का सामना कर रहे हैं। रूल्स बेस्ड इंटरनेशनल ऑर्डर पर विभिन्न प्रकार के दबाव है। ऐसे में भारत ईयू पार्टनरशिप आर्थिक पुनर्निर्माण में और एक मानव केंद्रित और मानवता केंद्रित ग्लोबलाइजेशन के निर्माण में महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभा सकती है।
Long-term challenges such as climate change and clean energy were also a priority for India and the EU. The scope for European investments and technologies in India's renewable energy sector was highlighted. Trade and investment figured in the talks too.
तत्कालीन चुनौतियों के अलावा क्लाइमेट चेंज जैसे लॉन्ग टर्म चैलेंजेस भी हम दोनों के लिए ही प्राथमिकता है। भारत में रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी के उपयोग को बढ़ाने के हमारे प्रयत्नों में हम यूरोप के इन्वेस्टमेंट और टेक्नोलॉजी का आमंत्रण करते हैं।
EU Council President Charles Michel said India and the EU were two democracies with common shared values. He called for intensifying multilateral cooperation on issues such as counter-terrorism.
India and the EU are great democracies. We share common values. We also believe that multilateral commitments needs to be boosted and supported to combat global challenges, whether it's stability, security, combating terrorism, and so on. And so, Prime Minister, I also want to I'm not only very happy to see you in this video conference, but also want to take this opportunity to express the wish to really see this partnership with India as a political one covering multiple facets of our relationships, but is also a stable, structured, essential partnership, a structural partnership. This is how we see it.
On the eve of the summit, India and the EU signed a civil nuclear cooperation agreement. The agreement on research and development cooperation for peaceful uses of nuclear energy was pending for more than a decade. Bureau Report, DD India. Now, there were a number of significant takeaways from the India-EU summit. In the first important outcome, India and the EU agreed to resume negotiations on a bilateral free trade agreement, also called the Broad-Based Trade and Investment Agreement. They agreed to establish a high-level ministerial dialogue to provide guidance to the bilateral trade and investment relations and to address multilateral issues of mutual interest. Now, this high-level dialogue will aim at fostering progress on the trade and investment agreements, addressing trade irritants and improving conditions for traders and investors on both sides, as well as discuss supply chain linkages. The second important outcome was the convergence of ideas on the Indian Ocean region. Now, India and the EU agreed to launch a dialogue on maritime security and consultations on security and defense, and also to enhance naval cooperation. And India and the EU.
During the 15th summit discussions today, one of the most important outcomes was the setting up of this high-level dialogue on trade and investment relations, which will discuss all trade and market issues as well as supply chain linkages. The two sides have expressed their commitment and agreed to work for a balanced, ambitious and mutually beneficial trade and investment agreements. The high-level dialogue, which will be held in the coming months, is expected to provide high-level guidance and directions to take these two agreements forward.
Now, India and the EU also agreed to implement the India-Euratom Agreement on research and development cooperation in the field of peaceful uses of nuclear energy.
The leaders also welcomed the conclusion of an agreement between Euratom, which is the European Atomic Energy Community, and India for cooperation in research and development in the fields of peaceful uses of nuclear energy.
And as the world fights the COVID-19 pandemic, India and the EU agree that global cooperation and solidarity are essential to protect lives and to mitigate the socio-economic consequences of the pandemic.
Recognizing each other's strength and mutual synergies, such as our role in pharmaceuticals and research, the EU and India agreed to intensify cooperation in response to the coronavirus, including on accessibility and affordability of COVID-19 tools, both President Michel and President von der Leyen greatly appreciated the timely assistance provided by India in terms of supply of medicines to EU countries. They sought India's active engagement in the initiative of universal and affordable vaccines for all.
All right, let me delve a bit into the evolution of India-EU relations over the decades. But before that, a quick recap of the summit itself. Now, let's look at the participants of the India-EU summit. We had Prime Minister Modi from India and Charles Michel and Ursula von der Leyen from the EU. Now, Charles Michel is the EU president. His official designation is president of the European Council. And Ursula von der Leyen is the EU Prime Minister. Her official designation is president of the European Commission. And she's the first lady to be elected to this position. Now I want to talk a bit about the history of the India-EU summits. Now, there have been 15 summits in the last 20 years. The first summit was held at Lisbon in Portugal in the year 2000. That's 20 years ago. And the last summit was held in India in the year 2017. If you're wondering what was on the agenda of those talks, well, here they are. Agenda item number 1. India-EU strategic partnership. It involves trade and investment, security, climate and digital economy. Agenda item number 2 is the COVID-19 pandemic. They talked about global cooperation between India and the EU, the reform of the WHO in particular, preparedness and response, and last but not the least, research and development on a vaccine for COVID-19. All right, agenda item number 3 is multilateralism. It involves the UN agencies, involves the WTO as well. And remember, India has become a non-permanent member of the UNSC in the years 2021 and 2022. And also, India will host the G20 summit in the year 2022, the year India turns 75. All right, agenda item number 4, global issues involving the Indo-Pacific and other issues. Now, one of the outcomes from the summit was the adoption of an article looking ahead at the next 5 years. That's called the EU-India Strategic Partnership, a roadmap to 2025. Now take a look at how the relations have developed over the several decades. Let's look at the road travel. Now, the ties began in the early 1960s with the European Economic Community way back in 1962. Then came the joint political statement in the year 1993 and the Cooperation Pact in 1994. And then came the Strategic Partnership Agreement signed in the year 2004 and the Agenda for Action 2020 adopted in 2016. Now, there are 31 dialogue mechanisms in this relationship, and the EU adopted the New India Strategy in the year 2018. And then came the Joint Statement on Climate Change in the year 2017, the Declaration on Urbanization also in 2017, and also the same year, a Joint Statement on Terrorism. And then we had the 2 visits by the 2 foreign ministers of India and the EU this year in January and February. And finally, some data on bilateral trade now. Now, 2019, EU was India's largest trading partner by volume. The trade volume was $87 billion. And EU is the largest source of FDI into India. Now, talks on a FTA began in 2007. It's called the Broad-Based Trade and Investment Agreement, but no progress was made since the year 2013. All right, time for a very short break, but when we come back, we'll have a guest over for a discussion in our In Focus segment. Keep watching News Night. Don't go anywhere.
चलिए फिर से बच्चे बन जाते हैं। बच्चों और बचपन से हमें बहुत कुछ सीखना है। याद है जब बचपन में हमें खांसी बुखार हो जाता था, बदन दुखता था तो हम रोते हुए माँ के पास जाते थे और उन्हें अपनी तकलीफ बताते थे। माँ कुछ घर की दवाई जैसे काढ़ा हो, हल्दी हो, उससे आराम देती थी हमें। जरूरत पड़ने पर डॉक्टर के पास ले जाती थी और कुछ दिनों बाद हम खेलने कूदने लग जाते थे। आज कोरोना की इस लड़ाई में हमें फिर से यही करना है। अपनी तकलीफ को अपनों को बताना है, राहत पाना है, इलाज कराना है, खेलना कूदना है, जीतना है। इसी में सबकी भलाई है। देखिए, बीमारी कोई कलंक नहीं होता है। परिवार तो आपका भला ही चाहता है ना। तो चलिए फिर से बच्चे बन जाते हैं, अपनी तकलीफ अपनों को बताते हैं। कोरोना से हमें लड़ना है, डरना नहीं है।
अरे बबलू, लॉकडाउन खुलते ही टहलने निकल पड़े। महामारी अभी फैली हुई है।
सरपंच जी टहलने नहीं, काम पे वापस जा रहे हैं।
तुझे डर नहीं लगता वायरस पकड़ लेगा?
पहले थोड़ा बहुत डर लगता था, फिर पता चला कि अगर मैंने पूरी सावधानी बरती तो ये बीमारी होने की संभावना कम है। सबसे महत्वपूर्ण है ये मास्क। काम पर मास्क हमेशा पहनूंगा, समय समय पर हाथ धोता रहूंगा और दूसरों से हर वक्त कम से कम 2 गज की दूरी बनाए रखूंगा। खुद को, दूसरों को और अपने परिवार वालों को भी सुरक्षित रखूंगा।
अरे भाई, मेरी जिम्मेदारी बनती है तुझे चेतावनी देना, सो दे दिया।
जब देश के मेडिकल और स्वच्छता कर्मचारी रोज कोरोना वायरस से लड़ने का काम कर रहे हैं तो हमारी भी तो जिम्मेदारी बनती है अपना काम करने की।
बबलू, तुझे कुछ हो गया तो?
हजारों लोग इस बीमारी को हराकर ठीक हो चुके हैं और अगर किसी कारण मुझे ये बीमारी हो भी जाए तो सरकार ने अस्पताल में हमारे इलाज के लिए पर्याप्त व्यवस्था कर रखी है। ये घबराने का वक्त नहीं, एक दूसरे का हौसला बढ़ाने का वक्त है।
अरे ऐसे क्या देख रहा है? तू काम पे जाएगा, मैं नहीं जाऊंगा, नाक नहीं कट जाएगी मेरी। चलो।
मास्क।
हाँ, मास्क मास्क।
अरे नाक तो ढक लो।
हाँ।
कोरोना वायरस से हमें लड़ाई जारी रखनी पड़ेगी और उससे डर कर नहीं, पूरी सावधानी के साथ डट कर चलिए। रुकी जिंदगी को आगे बढ़ाएं, देश को आत्मनिर्भर बनाएं। जय हिंद।
Welcome back. You're watching Newsnight on DD News and DD India. Time now for our In Focus segment in which we're discussing about India-EU, the road ahead. Joining me are two eminent and formidable guests, Ambassador Mohan Kumar and Ambassador Manjeev Singh Puri. The two need no introduction, but just for the benefit of viewers who might be tuning in from around the world, Ambassador Mohan Kumar is the chairman of Research and Information System for Developing Countries, a New Delhi-based think tank focusing on trade, technology, investment, development, connectivity and South-South cooperation. He served as India's ambassador to France and Bahrain. And Ambassador Puri has served as India's ambassador to Nepal and the European Union. He was also India's deputy permanent representative to the United Nations in New York. I couldn't have asked for better panelists than them. Gentlemen, welcome on Newsnight. Ambassador Kumar, if I can come to you first, your thoughts, your opening thoughts, help our viewers understand the significance and the principal outcomes from your vantage from the 15th India-EU summit.
So I think, as I was saying in the Hindi segment, I see a strategic segment or a strategic portion in the joint statement.
Okay.
I see obviously an emphasis on trade and investment, which I very heartily welcome. And third, I would say, is basically global challenges and support for multilateralism. And you can talk about UN, WTO, and G20. The strategic part I'll quickly cover. I think there is a large convergence now about the kind of importance that one has to give to the Indo-Pacific region. We've called it Indian Ocean and Pacific in the joint statement and the roadmap. I find that interesting because it can lead to a broader geographic definition, and maybe France can play a role given the fact that it has a lot of real estate in the Indian Ocean.
Right.
The strategic perspective is important also because we've finally been able to conclude a civil nuclear deal. And we've already done it with several others, but this has taken a long time coming. So better late than never. I think that's a very, very good development. And so strategically speaking, I see a lot of convergence between EU and India, and the kind of statement and agreements we have done today should strengthen that further. So that's the first point I'd like to make. In trade and investment, which is my pet subject, if you like, I'm absolutely delighted that there will be ministerial guidance. I'm a trifle disappointed that there is no end date for the negotiation. I would have liked it if the Prime Minister and the President had said, listen, by 2022, we want a deal. We want an investment and a trade agreement. The reason I say it is because there has been background to EU and India. We've been negotiating this deal for a long time. I also see some external factors like the EU-Vietnam FTA, which has already happened. The first developing country with which it should have happened should have been India, but Vietnam is the country with which they have already had a deal. But I take comfort in the fact that the roadmap talks of a summit every year. And I would wish for the leaders in the summit every year to take stock of the ministerial discussions so that if the time comes, the leaders at the level of Prime Minister would have to provide the impetus for a breakthrough. The issues are complex, diverse. I don't want to get into it, but they will need political will and political intervention to resolve. So that's the only point I'm making. But
Sure.
I'm absolutely delighted that there is a ministerial guidance and a high-level dialogue has been established. I'll just finish by saying what I wanted to say as the third point, which is really in the area of climate change, in the area of International Solar Alliance, in the area of smart cities, there has been so much contribution by EU, especially after the establishment of the European Investment Bank in Delhi, that we sometimes overlook the fact that EU is one of the partners that has played a significant role in climate change, smart cities, sustainable development. It is an idea to which they are wedded by principle, not for politics. It is basically they think that India has to be green, otherwise the whole Paris Accord fails. I know the EU perspective, and this is something we should respect. So all in all, a
Sure.
wonderful, successful summit. Thank you.
Fair enough. Ambassador Puri, to you now. Would you agree that the high-level ministerial dialogue on the bilateral FTA, the maritime security dialogue, naval cooperation, the India-EU ties have grown beyond trade and added a security balance to the relationship over the last several years?
You know, I'm very happy to see that the India-EU relationship is going beyond economics.
Right.
But let me make a point to you.
Sure.
The EU fundamentally is about economics, no matter European interest. And now they might be able to pursue it better with the exit of the United Kingdom, which had its own issues on this entire matter in its 30, 40 years association with the EU. No matter that, let us understand that the core competence and the competence of the European Union is really in Europe. It is in the area of trade. It is in the area of investment in Europe. Everything else is still a growing and a work in progress. So I'm very happy to see this happening. Remember one thing, when the Somali pirate issue was at its top, it was two navies or two groups of countries which were really the most active. One was EU NAV4, as it was called, a specially constructed naval task force of the European countries outside of NATO, and the other was the Indian Navy. So there's a history to this cooperation, and I hope that we can dovetail each of these things further. Look, geopolitics is always important when two of the largest players in the world get together. Remember, the EU is invited to G20 summits, even though it's not a country by itself. The fact that we get together on geopolitics, on China, its aggression, the way it is behaving at the moment is absolutely important.
Indeed.
And I'm really sure that the discussions included issues of counterterrorism with Pakistan, matters regarding China and what's been happening on our borders, plus what China is doing elsewhere in terms of Hong Kong, South China Sea, etc. So that's important. But for me, the critical takeaway is that we are working on the core competence of the EU, which is trade and work in Europe, in the continent of Europe. And if we have this dialogue, I really hope that we will have the necessary ministerial guidance and even from a higher level to try and push these things forward. It's been too long that we've been prevaricating, finding something or the other. Now, the coronavirus, think about what it's done. We are all actually taken in by its disease burden. But look what it's going to be doing. A 5% drop in global GDP, the enormous hit that European economies are taking, and we are not going to be left behind this. If we cooperate, who benefits? We benefit, our people benefit, and as the Prime Minister said, can we do something which is human-centric and focused towards the people? And that is what we'll be able to achieve. I'm obviously happy that we want to take multilateralism forward. We're looking at rules-based things. But for me, the other global challenge, which is long-term implications, and Corona may have given a bit of a blip on the positive side of the environment. After all, we're likely to have an 8% fall in the CO2 emissions this particular year. But the abiding challenge is that of climate change. And the EU remains one of the wedded ones. But what is it that we need in India? We have taken on the kind of commitments on climate change without which, in fact, the Paris Accord may not perhaps have been possible. But having said this, what is it that we need? We've done very well in the area of renewables. In solar energy, we've become world leaders, but we need a lot of technology in the area of heavy industry and in the area of heavy transport. I'll leave just one little thought with you.
Sure.
Perhaps a partnership in the area of hydrogen-based technology. It's a small pet which I personally would like to try and pursue. But I believe these are the kind of things. Look, let me also make one other point to you. EU is the world's second largest economy, and this is after we exclude Great Britain from it. As we are growing up the global ladder on GDP and on our capacities and so on, we have to leverage the fact that we are two democracies, two open societies, and two societies that have a very old relationship. You mentioned 1961. Let me tell you, our first contacts with the European coal and steel community was in 1957.
57.
So we were right there at the very beginning. And it has something to do with our history, but it also has a lot to do with our comfort level. If you go into the market here in India, what is it that you see? If you look at products which have come from outside or brand names which are from outside, you will see things you to identify as Indian, made by companies in India, but which are quintessentially European brand. That's the nature of the game. And if we leverage this, we benefit. I'll make one last point.
Sure.
Prime Minister, when he spoke in terms of the big package for COVID, mentioned Atam Nirbhar Bharat. There was a lot of feeling among people that were we turning protectionist? But in the last few days, as he has clarified, that no, we are open to the world as we built an Atam Nirbhar and self-reliant Bharat. And it was repeated today in the dialogue with the EU leaders. Let me tell you, this would be music for the ears of the European companies and industry who really know India well and can be our best source of innovation, investment in taking things forward to the greater good of both Europe and India and indeed humankind.
Fair point. You made a rather elaborate intervention there, Ambassador Puri. If I can come to you now, Ambassador Kumar. Now, this summit took place in the backdrop of two events or developments. One, the COVID-19 pandemic. The second was the misadventures by one country in our neighborhood in the wider Indo-Pacific region, and both had to do with China. Now, China was the elephant in the room, so to speak. What did you make of the emphasis by both sides on these two developments, especially the Indo-Pacific, and how both sides discussed especially the standoff in Ladakh between the Indian and Chinese forces?
On the issue of pandemic, the COVID, I think this is an opportunity, frankly, for both EU and India to work together. For example, France, where I was ambassador before, France depends on masks on China for almost 90%. So suddenly France realized that they don't have enough masks. So what France and other European countries would be looking at would be some kind of reshoring of supply chains. And India has got this predictable and justifiably good reputation that you can be the pharmacy of the world. We did send paracetamol and hydrochlorine tablets to Europe, and India could be conceivably the biggest pharmacy for the world. We already export 2/3 of the vaccines to the world. So I see some opportunities in the area of public health where I can see India becoming the net provider for public health security, if you like. And there is an opportunity here for Europe and India to work together. I pick on Ambassador Manjeev Singh Puri's point. European Union is big on tech and research. There is excellent research going on there. And if the two countries can collaborate even in the field of vaccine and other areas, there can be extremely fruitful cooperation. On the other issue you raised, China, I think what you are hearing in public is likely to be very different from what was exchanged in private. In public, the European Union has said that we welcome the talks between India and China, and we hope they will peacefully resolve the issue. You don't expect the EU, if you're a long-standing diplomat like me and Manjeev Singh Puri, you don't expect them to say anything else. What the real summit discussion would have been is a thorough briefing from the Indian side about our interpretation of what happened at the border, at what the real situation now is, and obviously it is for the EU to decide where China is heading post-COVID. Post-COVID, India is not the only theater. There is a South China Sea theater, there is a Vietnam, Malaysia, Philippines theater, there is also a European theater. China, after all, has been labeled as a systemic rival by the EU. So I see there a number of frank discussions between the two sides, which will enable a better understanding of Chinese actions recently and a joint strategy to reduce dependence on China, whether it is trade, investment, or technology. Look at the 5G issue and what the UK has done, what European Union has done. So I think these are the kind of discussions that would have gone on behind closed doors, but you're not likely to see them in public. So I would say that this kind of a summit is an excellent opportunity to do some frank speak between the two sides, and India will have a good idea about how EU also sees China.
Right.
So that we can make our respective assessments about China.
Absolutely. Ambassador Puri, I want to go back to that relevant portion from the joint statement which deals with the bilateral FTA. If I can quote that portion again, it says they have agreed to establish a regular high-level dialogue at the ministerial level to provide guidance to the bilateral trade and investment relations and to address multilateral issues of mutual interest. The high-level dialogue will aim at fostering progress on the trade and investment agreements, addressing trade irritants, and improving conditions for traders and investors on both sides, as well as discuss supply chain linkages, unquote. Help our viewers understand the sticking points as to why the talks broke down in 2013.
You know, India and the European Union are the largest trading partners. India is European Union is India's largest trading partner.
True.
We are among the top 10 trading partners of the European Union. Everybody thought there's a natural convergence, and there's no doubt about that. But let us try to understand.
Sure.
When you actually get down to an agreement which looks at nitty-gritties and, let me say, removing all kinds of barriers of protection, of things which are such as tariffs, etc., then you really get down to bread and butter issues of every dollar and cent, or should I say euro and cents thereafter. The European Union has a formidable bureaucracy. They also have a very formidable lobbying center in their own thing. And certainly they would like to push and see that many things get open. Now, one of the small sticking points which I'll mention, which the viewers would relate to, is about auto components. We are rightly proud that even though we've had a lot of investment from European companies as also Japanese and Korean companies, we've done remarkably well in terms of becoming even original equipment manufacturers for parts of these automobiles, and are even exporting these to the mother plants wherever else they may be in the world. Now, the European Union would really like to have a breakthrough so that the bigger companies which are doing things which get into it, this has obviously been a sticking point. Look, I'll make a small point to you.
Sure.
The European Union, on its part, also needs to understand that when you have access to the Indian market, you must be willing to recognize that a large country with the kind of development needs that India is, and with its employment requirements, a certain amount of protectionism is a must for us at the stage at which we are. This doesn't mean that we are a protectionist economy completely sealed, not at all. As the Prime Minister has said, we welcome FDI, we welcome people coming. But there has to be this particular understanding. On the reverse side, again, let me make to you a point which, again, viewers would easily understand.
Sure.
We are a country which is justifiably proud of what we've done in the digital area. We would like to have the Europeans give us access and a belief that our companies will be able to handle their data in a secure manner.
Right.
Now, they've had a number of tips with the Americans on this. This includes issues such as privacy, on which the Europeans are extremely strong. This includes issues of data access and what gets done with the data.
Right.
But they, again, need to see that we are, in a sense, that country which has worked with data with all its confidence, adding value to it and bringing good value to European companies. If today we have a 30 billion euro trade in services, it is as a result of this. So the European Union needs to take a more holistic and a more understanding view of where we are. We on our part, I'm sure, would also take a more realistic view on letting Europeans come in. The general talk is usually of wines and spirits, some kinds of cheeses, etc. Look, these will get resolved one way or the other. As long as the big things which I mentioned to you, which really add up in large numbers and which don't impact job creation. Creation for a country like India is particularly important. So these are the areas I think ministerial guidance is important. Because at the end of the day, these are issues which go beyond the pay grade of civil servants, no matter how talented and how good they are, because political calls have to be taken. And as Ambassador Mohan Kumar mentioned, it may even require that at one or two extremely sticking points, matters go really to the head of governments and the presidency of the European Union to take a call on the matter, because they are issues which are of importance, and particularly important in democracies and free societies.
Gentlemen, I'm completely running out of time, so I'll have to stop here. Thank you so much, Ambassador Puri and Ambassador Kumar, for joining us on Newsnight. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Right, moving on. 15th July marks the 5th anniversary of Skill India mission. On the occasion, Prime Minister Modi said the mantra for staying relevant in a post-COVID world is skill, reskill and upskill. Here's a report.
कई लोग मुझसे पूछते हैं कि आज के दौर में बिजनेस और बाजार इतनी तेजी से बदलते हैं कि समझ ही नहीं आता रिलेवेंट कैसे रहा जाए। कोरोना के इस समय में तो ये सवाल और भी अहम हो गया है। साथियों, मैं इसका एक ही जवाब देता हूं। रिलेवेंट रहने का मंत्र है स्किल, रीस्किल और upskill.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's message to the youngsters: skill, reskill and upskill to remain relevant in the rapidly changing business environment and market conditions. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the Digital Skills Conclave on Wednesday on the occasion of the World Youth Skills Day and the 5th anniversary of Skill India mission. The PM stated that the world belongs to them due to their ability to acquire new skills all the time.
तेजी से बदलती हुई आज की दुनिया में अनेक सेक्टरों में लाखों स्किल लोगों की जरूरत है। विशेषकर स्वास्थ्य सेवाओं में तो बहुत बड़ी संभावनाएं बन रही है। यही समझते हुए अब कौशल विकास मंत्रालय ने दुनिया भर में बन रहे इन अवसरों की मैपिंग शुरू की है। कोशिश यही है कि भारत के युवा को अन्य देशों की जरूरतों के बारे में उसके संबंध में भी सही और सटीक जानकारी मिल सके। किस देश में हेल्थ सर्विस में नए द्वार खुल रहे हैं, किस देश में कौन से सर्विस सेक्टर में क्या डिमांड बन रही है, इसमें जुड़ी जानकारी अब तेजी से भारत के युवाओं को मिल सकेगी।
The Prime Minister also brought out the distinction between knowledge and skills in his address. He further highlighted the potential of the country to capitalize on the skilling opportunities available in the country.
आज भारत में नॉलेज और स्किल दोनों में जो अंतर है उसे समझते हुए ही काम हो रहा है। आज से 5 साल पहले आज के ही दिन स्किल इंडिया मिशन इसी सोच के साथ शुरू किया गया था। इसका मकसद यही था कि यूथ को नॉलेज के साथ ही स्किल भी मिले, कौशल भी मिले। इसके लिए देश भर में सैकड़ों प्रधानमंत्री कौशल विकास केंद्र खोले गए, ITIs की संख्या बढ़ाई गई, उनमें लाखों नई सीट्स जोड़ी गई। इस दौरान 5 करोड़ से ज्यादा लोगों को स्किल डेवलपमेंट किया जा चुका है और ये अभियान निरंतर जारी है।
Referring to the portal launched recently for mapping the skilled employees and employers, the PM stated that this would help the skilled workers, including the migrant workers, to access jobs easily and the employers to contact skilled employees at the click of a mouse. The World Youth Skills Day is celebrated every year on the 15th of July. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it was celebrated in virtual mode this year. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, Prime Minister Modi on Wednesday reviewed development works on at the Kedarnath temple. The discussion centered around furthering the divinity of the Kedarnath temple and the site where Jagadguru Adi Shankaracharya breathed his last, besides extending all facilities to pilgrims on the Gauri Kund Kedarnath route. Showcasing the historical and cultural significance of the pilgrimage through technology was also discussed. Meanwhile, political drama continues in Rajasthan. Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot kept up his attack on his ousted deputy Sachin Pilot, even as the Congress party appeared to extend an olive branch to the rebels. But the fault line between the old guard and young Turks have only widened. Here's the report.
कोई अच्छा इंग्लिश हिंदी बोलना, अच्छी बाइट देना, वो सब कुछ नहीं होता है। अच्छे हैंडसम पर्सनालिटी होना सब कुछ नहीं होता है। आपके दिल में क्या है देश के लिए, आपका कमिटमेंट क्या है, आपकी विचारधारा, नीति, कार्यक्रम जो है आपकी पार्टी के, कितना बड़ा कमिटमेंट है आपका, ये सब देखा जाता है आपको।
A clear message from the old guard in the Congress party to young guard and rebel leader Sachin Pilot. Round 1 of the Gehlot versus Pilot battle seems to be tilting in favor of the former. Countering Gehlot's charges, Gajendra Singh Shekhawat tweeted, "They spend all their time blaming neighbors for their own disputes and they curse their own family members while dealing with the neighbor. Speaking good English holds no value, but commitment to the family does. Every statement made by Gehlotji proves the ownership rights of the Gandhi family over the party." Earlier, the day began with Sachin Pilot speaking to various news channels to say that he isn't joining the BJP. In an apparent reference to Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot's camp, Sachin Pilot said some leaders in Rajasthan were trying to fuel speculation that he is joining the BJP and alleged that such speculation was being fueled to tarnish his image. Congress spokesperson Randeep Singh Surjewala's response to him: "Speak to the party and not the media."
परिवार के सदस्य को कभी वापस परिवार में आने से गुरेज नहीं करना चाहिए। मीडिया के माध्यम से वार्तालाप बंद कीजिए। अपने परिवार में वापस आइए, परिवार में बैठिए और परिवार में अपनी बात रखिए। यही पार्टी के प्रति, भारतीय राष्ट्रीय कांग्रेस के प्रति सच्ची निष्ठा, आपके विश्वास और आपकी प्रतिबद्धता का सबसे बड़ा सबूत होगा।
Pilot's statement was followed by the state Congress unit taking the first step forwards, restructuring the party in Rajasthan after Sachin Pilot was stripped of the state unit's presidentship. AICC General Secretary in charge for the Rajasthan Congress, Avinash Pandey, served a notice to Sachin Pilot and other 18 party members for not attending Congress legislative party meetings. If they don't respond within 2 days, then it will be considered that they are withdrawing their membership from CLP. In another move, Avinash Pandey tweeted, "AICC has decided to dissolve all the district Congress committees and block Congress committees of Rajasthan Pradesh with immediate effect. The process of formation of new committees will begin soon." The move is considered a step forward in removing all Pilot's men holding party positions at the grassroots levels. Sachin Pilot was seen leaving the resort in Manesar, where he and his loyalists were putting up. The Gehlot government claims not only does it have the numbers, but also the support of the people of Rajasthan. Meanwhile, the BJP met in Jaipur to discuss the developments and the way forward. Significantly, Vasundhara Raje did not attend the meeting, even though she was asked to. Before the meeting, leader of opposition Gulab Chand Kataria said the need for a floor test would be discussed.
देखो हम तो दोनों को ही देख रहे हैं। हमारे सामने तो अशोक जी भी वैसे ही हैं जैसे पायलट साहब हैं। दोनों को एक्शन को देख करके हमारी पार्टी उसके आधार पर आगे की क्या नीति बनाए, इसके लिए हम सामूहिक विचार करने के लिए हमेशा।
On another front, suspended Congress leader Sanjay Jha says his loyalty is to the party ideology, not individual or family. He added that his big blunder was fighting for internal democracy and suggesting changes to revive the Congress. Jha was suspended for his anti-party activities after he spoke in favor of pilot on a debate on a TV channel. With Jaipur Bureau, News Night Desk, DD India.
The Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi has developed a low-cost COVID-19 test kit. HRD Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank and Minister of State Sanjay Dhotre on Wednesday launched what is billed as the world's most affordable diagnostic kit. Tapal Bhattacharya has more.
At a time when the world is grappling with the paucity and high expensive testing kits in its fight against COVID-19, India has shown as a beacon of light. Indian scientists have shown that when it comes to innovation, they don't lag behind anyone. Led by Professor Vivekanandan Perumal of IIT Delhi Kusuma School of Biological Sciences, researchers have prepared a COVID-19 testing kit. The kit received green signal from the Indian Council of Medical Research after necessary checks and investigation. Now, this kit can be used to perform tests across the country. On Wednesday, Union Minister for Human Resource Development Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank and Minister of State for HRD Sanjay Dhotre launched the kit through video conferencing.
और मुझे इस बात की खुशी है कि हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी के उस वजन को, उन शब्दों को मेरे आईआईटी, तमाम आईआईटीज ने बहुत कम समय में जुनून के साथ इस महामारी से लड़ने के लिए एक कदम, ठोस कदम जो मेरे आईआईटी ने उठाया है। मैं इस पूरी टीम को पूरे देश की ओर से मैं इसको धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं।
हमारे देश में टेक्नोलॉजी के क्षेत्र में, रिसर्च में आईआईटी सिस्टम की एक ऐतिहासिक भूमिका रही है। आईआईटी सिस्टम ने शुरू से ही मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरी रिसर्च और इनोवेशन को काफी प्रोत्साहित किया है। साथ ही साथ आईआईटी ने एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप को भी काफी बढ़ावा दिया है।
Using comparative sequence analysis, the IIT Delhi team identified unique regions in the COVID-19 genome. These regions are not present in other human coronaviruses, providing an opportunity to specially detect COVID-19. This highly sensitive assay was developed by extensive optimization using synthetic DNA constructs followed by in vitro generated RNA fragments.
It can be indigenously manufactured and it can be scaled up very fast. And that is where the cost has come down significantly now. And the basic kit after RNA extraction, you can do the test now in 399 rupees. And the RNA extraction and sample collection, if you add another 250 rupees, now in 600, 700 rupees using the IIT Delhi kit, you can do the complete RT-PCR test now.
IIT Delhi, which became the first academic institute to develop a COVID-19 testing method, gave non-exclusive open license to commercializing the test, but with a price rider. The company New Tech Medical Devices, which has launched the kit named Corosure, has pegged the price at $399 for the kit. IIT Delhi's latest innovation on COVID-19 testing kit is a classical example of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat, ushering India into a new era.
This is a classic example of Atmanirbhar Bharat that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has given call to. With cameraman Surendra, this is Taposh Bhattacharya, DD India, Delhi.
Right, moving on, Bihar is under a complete lockdown till 31st July in a bid to curb the spike in COVID-19 cases. Government buses are not allowed to ply. However, private vehicles are not barred. Yet, streets wore a deserted look as people stayed indoors. Bihar has reported about 20,000 COVID-19 cases and more than 170 deaths. Banks, ATMs and media outlets continue to function. Roadside eateries are only allowed to serve takeaways. Meanwhile, 24 BJP leaders and workers in Patna have been infected with the coronavirus. In Karnataka, a week-long shutdown has been imposed in Bengaluru urban and rural districts. The lockdown will be enforced till 22nd July. All forms of public transport, including buses, metro and taxis, are banned. Only emergency services are exempt. E-commerce companies are allowed to operate between 5 in the morning and 8 in the evening. Similarly, food delivery is also allowed between 5 a.m. and 10 p.m. Interstate and intrastate road travel is not allowed, but domestic flights and trains will operate. Right, time now for all the news related to COVID-19 pandemic in our COVID Wrap segment.
In a path-breaking move in India's battle against COVID-19, Drug Controller General of India has given market approval for pneumococcal polysaccharide conjugate vaccine. This vaccine is used for active immunization against invasive disease and pneumonia caused by Streptococcus pneumonia in infants. The vaccine is administered in an intramuscular manner. The Tamil Nadu government has approved the trial of BCG vaccine in elderly persons to study its impact on reducing the severity of COVID-19. The study will be coordinated by the National Institute for Research in Tuberculosis based in Chennai. The last 24 hours have seen a sharp rise in the number of COVID-19 patients recovering. 20,572 people were cured, which has taken the total number of recovered cases among COVID-19 patients. The recovery rate has climbed up to 63.24% today. With 865 labs in the government sector and 358 private labs, the total number of testing labs in the country is 1,223 as on date. During the last 24 hours, 3,20,161 samples have been tested. The issue of GST rate on alcohol-based hand sanitizers has been reported in few sections of media. It is stated that hand sanitizer attract GST at the rate of 18%. Sanitizers are disinfectants like soaps, antibacterial liquids, Detolect, which are all attract duty standard rate of 18% under the GST regime. WHO, in its guidance note on public health criteria to adjust public health and social measures in the context of COVID-19, has advised comprehensive surveillance for suspected cases. WHO has advised that the country needs 140 tests per day per million population.
All right, moving on. In the Kerala gold smuggling case, IAS officer M. Shivashankar, who was summoned for questioning by customs on Tuesday evening, was sent back home after 9 hours of questioning. Further action may be taken once more evidence is gathered. Shivashankar was recently removed as Principal Secretary to Chief Minister due to his connection in the gold smuggling case. Customs had earlier found that the accused frequently gathered at Shivashankar's apartment in the state capital. Phone records between Swapna Suresh and Minister for Higher Education KT Jalil in the month of May and June have also surfaced. The minister called for a press conference to clarify that Swapna called him as directed by the Consul General of the UAE in Thiruvananthapuram. Swapna Suresh and Sandeep Nair, the two key accused, have been remanded in NIA custody. About 10% of Assam's population is affected by the floods. Flood waters have inundated the Kaziranga National Park as well. 90% of the park is completely submerged, forcing animals to venture out and move towards the Karbi Anglong district and other nearby places in search of high land. National Highway 37 is badly affected too. A stretch of the highway passes through the national park. It disrupted vehicular movement between upper and lower Assam. The Bihar flood situation remains grim as well. Almost all the major rivers in the state are in spate. The situation in the lower areas of the Gandak River is particularly grim due to the release of more than 300,000 cusecs of water from the Valmiki Gandak barrage in West Champaran. Rail and road communication are disrupted due to rains. Both remain the only mode of transport in some areas.
There is still a relief that all the embankments are safe, barring some seepage incident, sporadic incidents, but the people are facing hardship as the low-lying population has been shifted from the low-lying area to higher places, and even some of the people are living under the sky, spending nights under the sky. Salman Haider, DD News.
And Mumbai and adjoining areas witnessed heavy rainfall for the last 2 days. An orange alert has been issued for some parts of Maharashtra. Low-lying areas including Parel, Hindi Mata, Sion, King Circle and Andheri were waterlogged. Other parts of the state such as Sindhudurg, Ratnagiri, Nashik, Raigad and Palghar are experiencing heavy rainfall too.
Thane and Navi Mumbai have been experiencing continuous and heavy rainfall since 2 days. This has caused a lot of issues for the people and for the Mumbaikars. We are also seeing issues of waterlogging in several low-lying areas including Sayan, Parel, Hindmata, Andheri and other areas which are considered to be low-lying in Mumbai. Other than Mumbai, we are also seeing areas in Maharashtra including Sindhudurg, Ratnagiri, Raigad, Akola, Jalgaon. These areas have also been experiencing continuous heavy rainfall and which has also caused a lot of trouble for the people living over there. The BMC has issued a warning or an advisory for the people that they should not be venturing close to the sea or to the areas where the waterlogging issues are currently being observed, because there would be a high tide of around 3.28 meters in the evening at around 7 p.m. Shama Mishra, DD India, Mumbai.
All right, now take a look at what else is making news around India in our national wrap.
The results of Class 10th CBSE board examinations were announced today. Overall pass percentage is 91.46%. Girls have done better than boys by 3.17%. Performance of Trivandrum region students is the best with 99.28 pass percentage. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will visit Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir on July 17th-18th. He will be accompanied by Army Chief General Manoj Mukund Narvane and will be visiting forward locations there. Reliance Industries Chairman Mukesh Ambani said that Reliance Jio has designed and developed its own complete 5G solution, which will be ready for trial and for field deployment by next year. Ambani said that trials using Jio's own 5G solution will be launched as soon as the 5G spectrum is available in India. Considering the rising demand for handcrafted products, Tripura Rehabilitation Plantation Corporation has started production of water bottles using bamboo in Mamutia. TRPC officials claim that the process of manufacturing is completely organic.
The Trump administration Wednesday said that it will impose travel bans on employees of the Chinese technology giant Huawei and other Chinese companies the U.S. determines are assisting authoritarian governments in cracking down on human rights, including in China's western Xinjiang province. The U.S. Foreign Minister Mike Pompeo made the announcement a day after the British government said it would ban Huawei from its 5G networks over concerns that sensitive data could be compromised by the Chinese government and the Chinese Communist Party. Pompeo said Huawei employees found to be providing material support to regimes engaging in human rights violations and abuses globally would be hit with sanctions.
The United States has a Huawei announcement of our own today. The State Department will impose visa restrictions on certain employees of Chinese technology companies like Huawei that provide material support to regimes engaging in human rights violations and abuses globally.
And that's a wrap on Newsnight, but news continues here on DD News and DD India. You can catch all the latest updates on our social media, mobile and digital platforms. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.